If you thought the storms between Martell Holt and Melody Shari had already passed, think again. What happened inside that courtroom recently was not just another legal battle, it was the breaking point. Martell walked into that room with his chest high, believing he could spin the story one more time in his favor. But what unfolded before those judges, the attorneys, and everyone watching was not a display of strength. It was a spiral. A man unraveling in front of the very system he thought he could outsmart. And while Martell spiraled, Melody rose. Calm. Steady. Focused. What she gained that day wasn't just a legal victory, it was something much deeper. And if you've been following their journey from the very beginning, you know this story was always leading here. The day when Martell's own actions would finally catch up to him, and Melody would walk away with more than just a ruling in her favor. She walked away with proof that no matter how messy the battle gets, peace, strength, and dignity will always outshine chaos. Stay with me, because this one isn't just about court papers or custody arrangements. This is about a woman who refused to let betrayal define her, and a man who couldn't stop sabotaging himself. Before we break down what went down in court, let's step back for a moment. Because none of this makes sense unless you understand the history that brought them here. Martell and Melody weren't just another reality TV couple thrown together for the cameras. They were the heartbeat of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. A power couple who built businesses together, raised beautiful children, and gave fans the picture of what looked like Black excellence in motion. On the outside, it looked perfect. The big house. The smiles. The chemistry. But behind the scenes, there was a storm brewing that the cameras couldn't hide forever. Martell's infidelity wasn't a rumor. It was a public humiliation that played out in real time, season after season. He wasn't just unfaithful once. He carried on an entire relationship outside of his marriage, convinced that he could live a double life and never face the consequences. Melody, on the other hand, was fighting to hold on to her marriage, her dignity, and her family. And when she finally walked away, she didn't just leave a husband, she left behind years of betrayal, denial, and manipulation. And here's what made it worse. Even after the divorce, Martell couldn't let go. He wanted control. He wanted the spotlight. He wanted to twist the story so that Melody looked like the problem. Court filings, social media rants, public confrontations, it became a cycle. Martell fighting for power. Melody fighting for peace. And fans watching every messy turn, wondering when enough would finally be enough. That brings us to the courtroom. This wasn't the first time they faced each other in front of a judge. But this time was different. This wasn't just about property or old grievances. This was about custody. About who their children would primarily live with. About who the court believed was the stable, responsible parent. And for Martell, it was his chance to prove that he wasn't the reckless man fans had seen on TV. But instead of proving that, he cracked. Inside the courtroom, Martell's behavior shocked everyone. Instead of staying calm and professional, he did what he always does when the pressure gets too high, he lashed out. Reports from that day describe him raising his voice, interrupting, and turning what should have been a serious proceeding into a performance. He spoke over his own attorney. He tried to accuse Melody of things the court had no patience for. And at one point, it got so bad that the judge had to intervene and remind him that this was not a reality show. This was court. But here's the twist: while Martell spiraled, Melody did the opposite. She didn't need to shout. She didn't need to clap back. She let the facts speak for themselves. Calm. Collected. Every piece of evidence she brought forward painted a clear picture of a mother focused on stability, safety, and consistency for her children. And as Martell unraveled, it only made her look stronger. Fans who heard about the outcome weren't surprised. The court ruled in Melody's favor. She scored a major victory, ensuring that her children would have the structure and peace she's worked so hard to build since leaving Martell. And for her, this wasn't just about winning custody, it was about finally being seen for the truth. After years of being painted as dramatic, difficult, or bitter, the court recognized what fans have always known: Melody is the steady hand in this storm. But let's pause here, because what happened in that courtroom wasn't just legal drama, it was emotional warfare. For Martell, this loss wasn't just about custody. It was about pride. About image. He walked into that room thinking he could spin the narrative, but when the truth came out, he couldn't handle it. And watching him spiral wasn't just painful, it was a reminder of how far he's fallen since his days as half of Huntsville's golden couple. For Melody, the victory came with mixed emotions. Yes, she was relieved. Yes, she was grateful that her children would have stability. But she also carried the weight of knowing that their father was unraveling right in front of them. And that's the part that cuts the deepest. Because no matter how toxic the marriage became, no matter how messy the breakup was, Martell is still their dad. And his spiral doesn't just affect him, it affects their children too. But here's where Melody's strength shows again. Instead of celebrating in Martell's face, instead of dragging him the way he's dragged her, she chose grace. She chose to focus on her kids. She chose to walk out of that courtroom with her head high, knowing that real victory doesn't come from humiliating your ex. It comes from creating a safe, peaceful life for your children. And that's exactly what she's been doing. Now let's talk about the impact. Because this moment was more than just another chapter in their messy saga. It was a turning point. For years, people doubted Melody. They said she was too dramatic. They said she was playing the victim. They said she was bitter. But after this courtroom win, those voices grew quiet. Because the truth is undeniable now, Melody didn't just survive betrayal, she rebuilt. She turned her pain into power. And the court validated that strength in a way Martell could never take away. For Martell, the impact was the opposite. His spiral in court left fans shaking their heads. Some felt sorry for him, saying he looked like a man completely lost. Others were frustrated, pointing out that he had every chance to rise above but kept choosing ego over growth. And when you think about it, that's been the story all along. Martell had everything: love, family, success, but he threw it away because he couldn't stop chasing control. And now, all that's left is the image of a man who once had it all and can't accept that he lost it. And let's not forget the kids. They might be young, but kids notice more than we give them credit for. They see who brings peace and who brings chaos. They know who keeps them calm at night and who stirs up storms. And one day, they'll look back and remember how their mother fought for them, not by screaming or lashing out, but by standing firm and choosing peace over and over again. That's a legacy you can't buy. And this brings us to the heart of it all, the ending that nobody expected but everybody needed. Melody's victory wasn't about destroying Martell. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about proving the world wrong. It was about finally closing the door on years of chaos and stepping fully into a life of peace. Martell may keep spiraling. He may keep fighting ghosts of his own making. He may keep pointing fingers, desperate to control a story that slipped through his hands years ago. But Melody doesn't have to fight anymore. She already won. She won the moment she chose herself over betrayal. She won the moment she built a new life for her children. And she won again in that courtroom, not just with a legal ruling, but with the undeniable truth that dignity will always outlast chaos. So here's the lesson for all of us watching. Winning doesn't always look like beating your enemy. Sometimes winning is simply refusing to let their chaos steal your peace. Melody showed us that. And Martell, well, he showed us the cost of refusing to grow. And that's why this story matters. Because no matter how messy the drama gets, no matter how loud the chaos becomes, peace will always speak louder. And Melody Shari is living proof of that. What makes this ending so powerful is that Melody didn't have to destroy Martell to win. She didn't have to scream, throw accusations, or tear him down. She simply stood firm in her truth, and the court saw it. That's the kind of victory that doesn't fade when the cameras turn off. Martell may still believe he has time to rewrite the story, but the truth is already written. Every spiral, every outburst, every moment he chose pride over peace, it all led to this point. And while he's stuck replaying the past, Melody is building a future. A future where her children grow up knowing their mother chose stability, not chaos. where they can look back and say, Mom fought for us, not against Dad. Mom chose peace when everything around her was loud. And that's the difference between the two of them. Martell may win a headline here or there, but Melody's victory lives in real life. It lives in her children's smiles, in her businesses thriving, in the glow she carries that no legal battle can take away. So when people ask, who really won? The answer isn't complicated. Melody won the day she walked out of that marriage with her dignity. She won again when she refused to let court battles break her. And she won once more in that courtroom when the truth could no longer be denied. The lesson here? Chaos burns itself out. But peace lasts. And no matter how loud Martell spirals, Melody's quiet strength will always speak louder. That's the real victory.